We were visiting friends for dinner in Clifton, and I have to tell you something about my husband. He's a bit of a food snob. We consider ourselves something of professional home cooks, so if he tries something at someone's home and realizes he doesn't like it, he won't turn down future dinner invitations, but he also won't eat. So I always make sure I bring a side dish or a dessert that I know he loves. So on that particular day, I made apple pie. Now, we live a good 40 minutes away, so I figured we'd just grab some ice cream at a supermarket near their house. Pretty easy, right? Not so much. The closest grocery store ended up being 8 miles away from their home. Now, that's not crazy, but when you're used to living somewhere where there are about 4 supermarkets within a 2-mile radius, that's a bit of a trek. So that's when it really hit me. Living in Clifton is a totally different experience. And that brings me to today's topic, the pros and cons of living in Clifton. In this video, I'm going to give you the inside scoop on a few things you may want to know before deciding to relocate there. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Krystal Walker with 𝗧𝗵𝗲. You're watching Where to Live in Northern Virginia, where we give you the inside scoop on everything there is to know about the area. If you want even more info, or if you're ready to take the next step in your home buying journey, click the link in the description to schedule your perfect home consultation. We'll meet virtually to hash out your priorities, answer any remaining questions you may have, and create a solid game plan for finding your next home. All right, so let's talk about everything you need to know about living in Clifton. We're going to start with the cons, and for starters, Clifton is absolutely beautiful, but it is not convenient. Clifton is pretty removed from the urban hustle in terms of convenience. Because of that distance and its rural feel, you're not going to find a ton of shopping centers or nightlife right in town center. For grocery runs, big shopping trips, or dining beyond a few local restaurants in the village, you're likely going to be driving to nearby Centerville, Fairfax, or other suburbs. So if you crave the energy of the city, or if you want a lot of amenities at your fingertips, then Clifton might feel a bit too sleepy or far-flung sometimes. It's a trade-off. You get tranquility and space, but you give up some conveniences, and you also shorten your Uber Eats list, so to speak. Con number 2 is going to be the commute, because the commute from Clifton is no joke. Simply put, Clifton has no metro station and really no walking distance public transportation options to get into DC. So if you work in DC, or if you enjoy going into the city, you'll probably be looking at driving. Clifton's about 25 miles from downtown DC, and while that might not sound too bad, remember, we're in the DMV area, so traffic can easily turn a 25-mile drive into an hour or more during rush hour traffic. There are some parking lot options and the VRE station and metro stops you can drive to. The Vienna and Springfield metro stations are probably going to be 15-20 minutes away. Then you have the Manassas Park VRE, both of which are commonly used by Clifton residents. But again, that's a 25-minute drive just to reach public transportation. So if you're a daily commuter to the city, living in Clifton means budgeting extra time for traffic or a drive to the train. Some people don't mind the trade-off. They say, hey, I get a big yard and quiet evenings, and I don't mind leaving a bit earlier for work. But others decide that the commute is just too much of a haul. It really just comes down to your tolerance for driving. I always joke that you get to know your favorite podcast pretty well during those drives. But for me personally, I don't know if there are enough episodes of Milk Street or Sporkful to make it worth it. On the bright side, being in the more rural areas, there's hardly any traffic when you're actually in Clifton. Con number 3 is going to be the higher than average cost. Clifton's a bit pricier than many other parts of Fairfax County. But when you consider it's a community almost exclusively made of detached single-family homes, it makes sense. The median sales price in Clifton is $975,000. Now, detached homes start around the $600,000 price point for some smaller, older ramblers with maybe 1,200 square feet or so. But you're not going to find many of those. And at that price point, it may need a little work. From there, they go up to around $2 million. That would give you a luxurious estate home with some 5+ acres with anywhere from, let's say, 5 to 10,000 square feet. At just under the $1 million mark, you're likely looking at a 4 to 5 bedroom colonial, probably built somewhere between the 70s and the 90s. But even at this price point, you're looking at a great lot size and plenty of privacy. Anywhere from a 1/4 acre lot to 5 acres, depending on the home. Homes in Clifton aren't cookie cutter, which means that there's so much more variety in what's available at each price point. So at that median price point, you could find a real-life log cabin, Tudor-style homes, or even an occasional rambler or split level, though those last two aren't particularly common. Con number 4 is that Clifton is not the most diverse place. This is a sensitive point, but I think it's important, so we should talk about its limited diversity. Clifton is not exactly a melting pot. In fact, the vast majority of folks who live there are white, with relatively few residents from other ethnic and cultural backgrounds. You won't see the same cultural diversity that you might find in larger Northern Virginia communities. For some, the homogenous feel might be part of its charm, but others might miss having a broader mix of cultures, cuisine, and cultural events in town. For instance, when it comes to restaurants in Clifton, they have a great ice cream parlor, an upscale American restaurant, a pub, But you won't find, say, a variety of international restaurants right through the neighborhood. Now, you can surely find those 15 to 20 minutes away if you wanted to travel to Fairfax or Centerville. We've had clients from diverse backgrounds mention that they love Clifton's look, but wish it had a bit more variety and community. So it's all about what makes you feel most comfortable. The town is very welcoming to everyone, don't get me wrong, but the demographic reality is something to be aware of. If having a diverse environment is high on your list, that might be an area where Clifton doesn't shine as much. All right, so now that we got the cons out of the way, I have to tell you, there are some things I absolutely love about Clifton. Let's take a look at those. For starters, it is unlike any other place in Fairfax County. Unlike much of Fairfax County, which is quite suburban and can feel a bit cookie cutter, Clifton is truly rural and has a small town charm unlike anywhere else. And when I say small town charm, I don't mean a neighborhood where everyone knows one another and neighbors walk to each other's homes and share a cup of sugar. I mean there's a historic main street with centuries-old buildings and homes on massive lots where you might even spot the occasional horse. So pro number one is going to be small town feel, which you just don't find elsewhere. Clifton is a place that feels untouched by Northern Virginia's rapid development. While towns like Fairfax, Reston, and Manassas are packed with shopping centers and traffic, Clifton keeps quiet and scenic. Head east or south and you're surrounded by forest. You go north, it's full-on horse country. If you ever wanted to try horseback riding, or even if you own a horse, this is one of the few places in Fairfax County where that's still part of everyday life. Beyond the open land, Clifton has plenty of ways to soak in nature and unwind. There are 3 golf courses, including the public Twin Lakes course, giving golfers plenty of room to play. And if wine is more your thing, then Paradise Springs Winery, which is Fairfax County's very first winery, in fact, is the perfect place to grab a glass of wine and relax on a sunny afternoon. If you love the outdoors, then the Bull Run Occoquan Trail runs 17 miles along the water. That offers a peaceful escape that's just minutes from town. Okay, so I have to tell you something about Clifton and how beautiful it is. There is one thing about its beauty that I do not particularly care for, and it's the roads. They are twisty, hilly, and full of steep inclines. I actually refused to drive there for a while because it used to make me so dizzy. Now, some people love the scenic winding drive, but if you get motion sickness easily, Clifton's roads may take some getting used to. Now, my kids, on the other hand, they thought it was the best thing ever. When they were younger, they used to scream and throw their hands up like they were on a roller coaster. Meanwhile, I'd be in a passenger seat with my eyes closed, just praying we would get there quickly. Now, one of the most interesting stretches is going to be Kincheloe Road. It starts off peaceful, surrounded by farmland. Then all of a sudden, it turns into this hilly, gravelly roller coaster before spitting you out on Old Yates Ford Road. The first time Google Maps took me that way, I thought I'd gone through a time portal. Now, some people find it charming. Other people, like myself, will call it stressful. So whether the roads feel serene or disorienting really depends on you. And then there's Clifton's history. The town's historic district is straight out of the late 1800s, with 62 preserved buildings, including homes, churches, and storefronts that look like they belong in a completely different era. It's the kind of place where time slows down, a rare find in a county that's always on the move. Another big pro living in Clifton that our buyers absolutely love is the housing itself. Large single-family homes on spacious lots. If having room to breathe and stretch out is on your wish list, then Clifton delivers. Thanks to local zoning laws, many properties sit on sizable lots. We're talking about 5 acres for some newer builds, which means plenty of elbow room between you and your neighbors. You won't find densely built condos or even very many townhouses here. Over 90% of the homes in Clifton are detached single-family homes. Oh, and here's another thing to keep in mind. Clifton doesn't really have sidewalks. If you're used to city living or even a more traditional suburban area with sidewalks, Clifton might not meet your needs. And with their narrow, winding roads, I personally am not a fan of walking in the streets, especially with kids. It's just not the most pedestrian-friendly place. I mean, I can't even imagine walking a dog there. But then again, if you've got 5 acres, do you even need to take your dog for a walk? Or can it just run around your yard? I don't know, I'm not a pet owner. Can someone who owns a dog let me know in the comments? If you have a big yard, do you still have to take your dog for walks? Schools are another strong selling point for Clifton. Even though the town itself is small, it's still part of the Fairfax County public school system, which is among the very best in Virginia. Families here take education seriously, and it shows. The local schools have a great reputation. For example, younger kids might attend Union Mill or Fairview Elementary, and they go on to highly regarded schools like Centerville High or Robinson Secondary, which serve the Clifton area. We've had clients specifically zero in on Clifton because they want that combination of a top-notch school for their kids and a tight-knit community. Bottom line, Clifton is truly special in many ways. It offers a peaceful, storybook, small-town atmosphere with beautiful big homes and top-tier schools, a combination that can be hard to find and grow in Northern Virginia. Clifton is an excellent option for those who value community and space over a quick commute. Just one drive down Clifton's main street and you'll see it's easy to fall in love with the place. I hope this video gives you a clearer picture of what Clifton has to offer. If you love Clifton's charm and space and can handle the trade-offs, this might be your dream location. But if you're still weighing your options, let's talk. Click the link in the description to schedule your consultation. We'll map out your perfect home search for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.